Hey, what's up, guys? Eric with Painting Business Pro here. Super excited for this conversation I'm about to have with Kyle Kinkead. So, Kyle started his business in 2020 and did 125,000 in sales. This is now 2021. He's on track for about 2 million. Maybe the most that if that's not interesting enough, one of the most interesting things is actually where he's doing it. So, he's in Wheeling, West Virginia. Is that right? Which
Yep.
is not a metro, not a big area. And what's also really interesting is Kyle is doing this with employees. So, as you know, if you followed my stuff for a while, you know I talk a lot about using subcontractors. Kyle is using employees. He's in a small market, and his growth is substantial. So really excited to hear. I don't know what he's got in store for us, but Kyle, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit with your business and how you got into this, and we'll go
Yeah,
from there.
yeah. So I actually did the College Works program,
Okay.
which I know Eric you're familiar with,
Yeah.
years and years ago as a freshman in college, and that's how I got introduced to the painting stuff.
Okay.
Learned how to paint myself doing that, and then ended up painting personally for a while after that, actually laboring with it. I went to school and got an exercise science degree, which has nothing to do with painting. That's how I ended up in Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm actually from Pennsylvania. Got a job in that field, found out there's absolutely no money in that field, and the hours are terrible. And so I was trying to figure out what else I could do. Funny enough, I was actually bouncing at a bar on Friday and Saturday nights for about 2 years. And the one night it was kind of slow as we were winding down. So I was Googling how to start a painting business. That's how I came across the Painting Business Pro stuff.
Great.
So kind of did a little bit of research on that and jumped into it. And then also simultaneously, obviously, started the business, which was also conveniently during COVID. Uh, actually,
Conveniently. Yeah.
we did almost nothing for about 4 months.
Yeah.
I did some sales, did a lot of door knocking myself. My brother helped out a little bit. And then we kind of just started going from there. Now, obviously, the sub route, tried to go with that. I actually had a couple back and forth emails with you about how to kind of proceed because we were having no success with it.
What did I tell you to do?
What's that?
What did I tell you to do?
I don't remember.
Okay. I like genuinely curious. Like, given where you're from, I think my advice would be like, hey, here's a video I did with Grant, who's also in a rural area. You might have to go with employees, but either way, in a smaller market, it is harder to use subs. So, we're gonna add some of that stuff to the course in the coming year. But anyway, so
I want to say you said something along the lines of like incentivizing or bonus programs or something to that end. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but
with
basically,
employees, yeah, with employees, yeah,
yeah. And so I ended up hiring employees, and then we also tried out two different sub crews. They were both awful, if I'm going to be honest
yeah.
with this. A lot of babysitting. Just finally, I kept one for a little while. I finally cut the cord with them not too long ago. They were just doing kind of one-off jobs. But anyways, we brought on employees, which is substantially more difficult from getting started. We started them with an hourly rate and tried to do the bonus program. That actually didn't work really well.
Yeah.
But what we came to going into this year is kind of through the winter with some interior work. I found a couple of guys that were really good that I want to keep around and that are kind of in some key positions now. And so we implemented bringing on new people. We actually pay using a sub model.
Yeah.
Now, I actually talked with Scott Lawler about the legality of this. I'm not entirely sure exactly if I'm structuring it right, but basically we pay out 40% of every job as payroll to
Yeah.
our employees. And so what ends up happening is our top guys are pulling anywhere from 35 to 40 an hour, and then it shakes out the people that suck. So there's obviously a little bit more nuance to it than that, but we bring them on that way, and it allows us to kind of operate in the same way, but I've got a lot more control with the employees.
That's the way I usually recommend. And so you can do that. The way that you, just to address the legality thing, the only place that becomes illegal is if you're paying them less than minimum wage,
Okay.
right? Because fundamentally, you're just saying, hey, I'm going to pay you this much on this job, even if you finish it faster or slower. But you can't, if they take 6 weeks to do a $2,000 job, you're going to be paying them minimum wage.
Right.
And obviously, if they don't get to minimum wage, but they get to $1 above that, they're probably going to quit, and that shakes out the bad employees like you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess to dive a little further, we do a 90-day training period initially where they
Nice.
get paid hourly. And the idea is that before that 90 days is up, we should already know if they're going to make it. Because if they get on a crew that's getting paid on commission, those guys aren't going to like the new guy that sucks anyway. So
Yeah.
we're still obviously testing some things with that.
Yeah.
But,
No, I love it though.
through it.
And I'll just highlight, man, like kudos to you for the 90-day training. I'll tell you, so many people say, and I know you're going to find bad people who don't work out, but so many people say there's no good workout there. And it's like, man, I just don't think anyone trains well enough. Now, that doesn't mean everyone's good, but well done with having really thorough training.
And I'm really fortunate. One of the guys that I brought on last year was a pizza delivery driver for 20 years. He's the only person that's ever sat down with me and said, I don't know jack shit about painting, but I'll learn. And so I taught him everything that I know about painting, and he took all of it and absorbed it, and he's actually gotten better. So he actually can fully train all of our people now as well. And we're getting 2 others that I'm hoping will be in that same role that can train. That helps substantially
Yeah.
to free me up from that. He's actually going to move into more of a management position, hopefully within the month. So that was a major key in that aspect. But yeah, we fumbled a lot initially. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're still going to fumble too, but
Never, as long as you're growing, you're fumbling. The only way to not fumble is when you're like, hey, we're going to stop growing and just clean everything up, which is not a bad thing to do, periodically. I've been doing that for a couple of years even, and we're actually growing as a result of doing that. But so Kyle, is it just you or is it with a partner?
it's just me.
Okay.
There's no partners. No.
And what's your team? So what's your sales so far this year? Right now, it's June 4th. We're almost halfway through the year. You said you're on pace for around 2 million is what you're aiming for, expecting. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah. So, admittedly, I'm really, really bad at tracking. I'll again reference Scott on this. I do everything by hand, which is terrible. I have nothing digitized. It's really bad. But anyways, we're sitting at just under 900,000 right now.
Okay.
That's personal sales on my end. I don't have a salesperson. I would say a good portion of that actually is from connections more so than anything else. I've done little to no marketing this year.
What's your average job size? Do you have any big jobs in there? Or?
Yeah, so the area that I'm in is a lot of Victorian style houses. Wheeling, West Virginia, and I haven't fact checked this, but I'm told is the highest number of still standing per capita Victorian homes in the nation.
Wow.
So we get a lot of actually really high dollar jobs. We have a $35,000 home coming up. And it's not even that much prep. It's a couple shake replacements, a little bit of scraping, and then mostly just paint.
Yeah.
We look at, routinely, I'd say probably once every other week, I'm looking at a house that is going to take 100 plus gallons of paint. So,
you got a big job size. Do you know what your average is for the year?
I don't.
Yeah.
We rarely book anything below 5,000.
We should have, if I could, I would love to help you get digital. It'd be pretty easy, and it will improve your effectiveness.
Scott said the same thing.
You'll know your stuff better, and it'll be more efficient. Especially because that's going to become a bottleneck for you at some point, doing everything by paper. But okay, so I'll avoid any questions that are super nuanced. So 900K yourself. Do you have a project manager, or is it just really autonomous crews?
So that's where Chris, that I've kind of bumped up a little ways, that is good at training now. He's going to take over that role. It's kind of a hybrid position because we're not subs. So he's going to do training and then also like dealing with customers, clients, talking with them, and running jobs. Where we're at right now, we've got 9 employees. So that could be anywhere from 2 to 3 crews, depending on how we structure. We kind of jump job to job because of the size. Yeah. I'm thinking it should be a little more manageable for him to do that, and then also deal with the training aspect as well. Yeah. So I'm going to say right now we get kind of a hybrid. Like I jump into jobs here and there, but not as frequently as I was before.
Good. And so how much are you working a week at the moment?
I have no idea.
A lot?
It depends on the week, honestly. Some weeks, like especially when it got nice, I was slammed with estimates, and I'm one of those people that doesn't really say no.
Yeah.
So there was days I did 8 estimates a day. There's other days like today where I did 1 half-hour estimate, and I literally sat here and did paperwork the rest of the time. Gotcha. I am fortunate in that I have Chris in the position that he's in, and that I can travel. I do have I set a goal back in October to go somewhere for a week every month that's out of the state, and I've held to that up to this point. So
a week, a month travel?
Yes. So I guess what I'm saying is I work a lot when I'm here, but
yeah,
I have the flexibility to step away if need be.
Yeah. Well, and you're still in, most people don't get to the size you're at in phase 1, and you know what that is, right? And in phase 2 is like when you start building your team. So you're kind of building a team on the production side, but you're probably getting close to the point where it's time to hire a salesperson. And the moment you do that, that's going to free up an enormous amount of your time. What are your plans for growth? You're growing substantially. Is this bigger than you ever expected when you started?
I wouldn't say bigger than I expected. Maybe a little more quickly than I expected.
That's what I mean. Yeah. 2
I
million in year 2 is pretty amazing.
I would actually say, from the salesperson perspective, I would like to get one. I'm already at that bottleneck that you just spoke of, because I have nothing like systematized from that aspect, and that I know what I'm doing to sell. It'd be such a hassle to try and teach someone without anything further in place. Because I'm doing a lot of this stuff just from memory, and nothing's written down. With that said, I actually have no interest in being in West Virginia any longer than I have to be. I don't love it here.
Yeah.
I want the business to remain, so I want to build it. I actually, from what I've figured out, if I can pull around 2.5 million a year, that's enough to sustain this and have somebody in place to manage it and let
Yeah.
me get out. And then I'm going to try and do it again somewhere that I actually want to live. Ideally multiple times. I have some interest in some real estate stuff too, and there's a much bigger plan at play there. I've got a
Yeah.
partner for that, but so I'm trying to get this to a place where I can leave, have a steady flow of income to support the bigger stuff that I want to do.
I love it, man. All right, so how does Painting Business Pro tie into this? Like, obviously, you said you got it when you started. What did it do for you? How has it helped you?
Yeah.
Um,
So funny enough, actually, and I'm gonna guess I'm a little unique in this situation. Maybe not. I don't know. But the biggest help for me with it is the other people that are in it. The group on Facebook, the people that are kind of going through this stuff. I learned a lot of the basic stuff about this, and like I said, you probably know this from College Works. Now, I'm not going to say that I don't use it because I do go in the
yeah,
videos and check on stuff, but a lot of it is like more so refreshing it rather than learning it new. But the people that are part of it and the community of it is way more helpful. I got into the mastermind stuff with Scott. That was awesome. I've already tried to set up with him where I can get into other masterminds.
yeah,
Every time I travel, I meet up with somebody in that area. I literally just go to the group and post, "Hey, I'm anyone in this area." I was able to meet with a couple gentlemen in Colorado, and as their last, and it's just super helpful to bounce ideas off of each other and people that
yeah,
are in the same boat. Rather, like you always talk about the whole most painting contractors suck.
yeah.
Most of the ones that are in the group don't, and so that's helpful to bounce ideas. And just a week ago when I was in Colorado, we got a couple new things that we think we could play around with and try. And so
Who'd you meet
that
with?
aspect of it. What's that?
Who'd you meet with when you're out here?
The one that I had a really good interaction with was Colton
Yeah,
Simmons, I think was his
yeah.
last name.
I literally talked to Chad, his
Yeah,
brother-in-law. I talked to Chad literally yesterday. I mean, those guys are doing awesome things in only their second year too. So
yeah,
I'm glad you guys connected. Well, no, I actually love hearing that, man. I mean, I think the community, people are always oftentimes looking at the value of the program, which is, of course, valuable. But no, I think the community and, you mentioned the mastermind with Scott and just for anyone watching that he's pointing to the commercial program. So he's a member of both residential and commercial, um, which is great. And so Scott's my partner on the commercial stuff, but yeah, the people is, I mean, for me, I've invested in tons of things. I always have probably got the most value out of the people that I've connected with, in addition to just the content. So that's awesome.
yeah. And I mean, I'm admittedly terrible at like the course stuff. As far
Yeah,
as I can get about 15 minutes a clip out of myself for focus, and then I'm done for. So
yeah,
I'm better with talking to somebody and then networking aspect of things.
yeah. Well, when you're ready to start figuring things out to make that move, look, I'll just here's my advice part is based on what you said with the growth you're having, time to get a salesperson in place. The sales portion of the residential program will do a lot of that heavy lifting for you, a lot of the documentation, and systemizing. That would be worth setting aside like a day like today where you're doing paperwork, just block off time. And, um, you know, I've always had the experience, like there's definitely things that are easier for me to do and harder for me to do in business. Like sitting down and cranking out standard operating procedures is not one that comes easy to me, but I got to do it sometimes. That's what the business needs. Um, I think a lot of this is the point where a lot of the stuff in the course will be beneficial. You're really naturally talented at sales, obviously, and you've got a background with it and stuff too. That'll help do some of that heavy lifting, and I think you'll go through it and be like, hey, this totally applies. This applies. I'm going to tweak this. For as far as the systems for the sales rep, and then in the team building portion, that'll help you with the recruiting and employment agreement and some things like that for the
Right.
salesperson. So definitely look to that. And then the master business plan, to your point, about 15 minutes is the most attention you can get. It's a 13-minute video. So I fell in under the time limit for you on that one. And that'll help you move all your numbers off of paper into the business planning stuff, which will help.
I'm a little misleading. I have a couple Google Docs, but for
That's,
the most part,
yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, it's super amazing, man. And maybe one other good question to ask you. A lot of people, not just in the painting industry, but it's June 4th right now. Unemployment's been going on for a year, getting extended, added to pretty much everywhere you go. Every small business has hiring signs up. I've always heard people complaining that they can't find good painters, but more so now than probably I have in the past. What And actually, I'll have another question about your small market and then we'll wrap up. But what are you doing to find good painters?
So again, I think I'm going to go against the grain here, but we actually stopped hiring painters. Anyone that has previous experience, and in my experience so far, has sucked. And
Yep.
that was actually the same thing when I did college works. It just
Yep.
waffled. I'm a
Yep.
picky guy. I'm particular. We work on a lot of really old historic stuff, almost restoration. So what we actually intentionally do is we'll hire people that have experience working with their hands, but don't have really any experience with painting or anything like that.
Yep.
We do look for kind of a certain demographic, and I'm not going to be super
Yeah.
touchy on that,
It's okay.
but it, that's helped a lot. We pulled guys out of the coal mine, guys from delivering pizzas, whatever it may be. The other thing that we did interesting that I think is worth mentioning, we started going to any type of restoration or construction style program in colleges and presenting to them to try and pull some interns. And I actually did get 2 hits already. The one kid actually already has a very big interest in coming with us without even doing the internship after he's done with school. So that's kind of the route we're taking, but it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, I love it though, man. I totally agree. And it's why the training is so important. I think that there's plenty of people out there who are willing to work, especially when you're training people well with the pricing you do. Like people can make 35 or 40 an hour. Our best painters probably do make that, but it requires training. If you're sitting back putting up an ad and trying to hire someone who's going to be amazing and make great money and do the work you want, it ain't going to happen. So again, well done on your part with that. Last question I have, I think, is what are you doing to generate so much business in such a small market?
So last year I did almost exclusively door to door.
Hmm.
We do have a decent presence on social media that I need to tap into for advertising. I've just had no
Yeah.
luck with it. But actually, as terrible as an answer as this is I had a lot of connections here from being in a gym setting before, and I just flexed the absolute shit out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talking to everyone that I could. We got in with a local bank that has a bunch of branches that we work on now. So I guess the short answer would be tapping into every single person I knew, and going from there.
Dude, you're saying all the things that I say, which is good. I like to, I'm like, great. Okay. I'm right on that one, right on that one. Cause that's what I say for small markets is there's not as much competition. So word of mouth is almost more powerful in those smaller rural markets. So that's awesome to hear. Um, Excited for you, man. Let me know where I can help you out with I can probably point you in the direction of resources or, we're doing a lot more webinars these days to help you out with those transitions even in the future. I told someone this yesterday. I think it was Chad actually. Colton's homie. I think we're gonna start in the future. I'm gonna look into like, hey, how do you establish businesses that run themselves essentially and start to remove yourself, like what you're talking about with the business and wheeling, so you can go and live somewhere that you actually want to live. So, anyways, we'll just keep me posted, man. Happy to help. Super excited for all your success. Thanks for taking a few minutes. Any last words you would say to anyone who is running a business or thinking about starting a painting company?
I got nothing.
Great. That's all good, man. I think it's an awesome story, really unique, so thanks for taking the time, man, and keep kicking ass.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.
All right, brother.